Good morning, everyone. It's Jim Wolf here, and I'm in my office again. The clock is ticking down to the submission date for IH 887 Grants Foundation proposal season, and this Campcast is devoted to talking about budgeting and the Foundation's approach to budgeting. Capability statements that you'll need for your proposal, the sustainability plan, and finally, a few words about the importance of executive summary. We only have one more class left before the proposal presentations, so hopefully you'll be able to incorporate this information into your proposal and have some of your budget, your sustainability plan, and your executive summary done by next class. Everyone agreed the old way of budgeting took too long. Well, it did because people didn't have a systematic approach to budgeting, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What is a budget? A budget is really a tool to relate planned resource consumption to a period of time. An effective budget is a plan for receiving and spending specific amounts of money in specific cost categories to get specific things done within a set period of time and with monitoring mechanisms built into the process. An estimate of cost, revenues, and resources over a specified period reflecting a reading of future financial conditions and goals. Budgets are really blueprints. They're a planning tool because they establish the boundaries and activities that you are going to accomplish. They're a monitoring tool because they allow you to track progress against your estimated budget. And they're an evaluation tool because they allow you to track performance. As a managerial tool, budgets are used to control spending, to allocate resources, to communicate to employees, to translate plans to action, and to create accountability. There are several different types of budgets. An operating budget or recurrent budget, sometimes called a revenue budget, relates to the operational activities of the organization. A cash budget profiles the cash flows over a budget period to make sure that the organization has enough cash to meet its needs. A capital budget refers to the acquisition disposition of property, buildings, large equipment, and vehicles. An activity, project, or program budget, which is what you're going to be doing for your proposal, refers to the budget for a particular set of activities in a project or a program. And finally, budgets can be either restricted or unrestricted. Most donors, especially donors like USAID, all their budgets are restricted. That means that you can only use the money for things that you directly specify in the budget. Sometimes organizations will get unrestricted money in which they can program in any way that they choose. So there are several different approaches to budgeting. If you're budgeting a program annually, often you start from last year's budget and make changes for inflation, pay increases, and changes in volume of service or activity. You can also start from scratch and rebudget all your activities every year. Some organizations like to present their budget by objective or by program. In this case, uh, one groups costs by activity, or cost by program, or cost by objective. In a line item budget that you will be preparing for your proposal in IH 887, you're asked to present a line item budget which groups like costs together. For example, all of salary costs in one line item, all of supplies in another, transportation in another. When you're formulating your budget, review donor budget guidelines carefully. I can't say this more forcefully. It's really important to understand what the donor wants from the donor applicant in terms of budget. Be aware of budget timeframes and make sure that every cost in your budget is clear and described precisely. Take into account inflation when preparing your budget, and take into account any changes in the volume of service or changes in prices that might occur over a period of time if you're preparing a budget for more than a year. And also make sure that you don't under budget or over budget. If you under budget, you won't be able to achieve your goals and objectives. And if you over budget, you won't be competitive. Remember that donors are looking for the best work at the lowest price. So here are some of the typical categories that you will find in the a line item budget. On the right, the colored boxes there are copied from the budget template that the foundation provided you, and one that we urge you to use. The budget categories here are salaries and wages, benefits, travel and per diem, supplies and equipment, purchase services, communication, general administration. There is a contingency line item there, but as we'll talk about in a minute, donors don't like line items of that are contingencies or miscellaneous. They look right through that and will usually ask you to remove them from the budget. So it's not advisable to put those in. You will need to prepare a budget justification. The budget justification provides a rationale for each expense in your budget. It explains the relevance of the expense to the achievement of project goals and objectives and activities. It demonstrates fiscal responsibility because it shows that because a strong budget justification shows sharp and responsible fiscal thinking, and know what your donor will allow and will not allow. And make sure that you match your budget justification with the your budget precisely. And be sure to explain all your underlying assumptions. So here are my top 10 budgeting tips. First, always use Excel and never use a Word table to do a budget. You want to use formulas and not plug in figures, because when you have complex budgets, it's very easy if you change something to change all the related items if you're using formulas, and very difficult and problematic to do that if you're plugging in the actual figure. Be very careful when you add or delete rows, because that sometimes can change the uh, formulas and totals. Make sure you proofread your budget, and make sure the justification matches precisely to the budget. It's always a good idea to keep salary information confidential, and you may run into this when you attempt to get salary information for different types of personnel in your program. Confidential. Use check formulas to verify totals. Use multiple readers to check budgets. So you want to do the budget yourself, but then give it to one of your team members and have them carefully check it. Many organizations, when they apply for or are submitting a proposal, will have three people who are trained in finance each individually check the budget, item, line item by line item, and then come together to make sure that they agree that the budget is correct. Follow organizational and donor policies, and the last two, of course, are incredibly important. That's why they're up there twice. Proofread, 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 and proofread, proofread, and proofread. So you will be asked to provide a detailed first-year budget. Be sure that you think hard about the personnel that you're hiring, and try to estimate their salaries and level of effort. Be sure to break down estimated cost by line item, provide total costs of each line item, and it's always a good idea to, if you can show other sources of funds that will be, or in-kind contribution that your partners will be contributing. If you can show this in your budget, or have a table that shows it, that's often very attractive to donors. And the 5-year budget is part of the what you need to submit to the IH-887 Grants Foundation. However, the foundation doesn't want you to spend a lot of time budgeting each year after the first year, so it's perfectly all right to extrapolate over other project years and perhaps factor in inflation, or maybe any change or increase in activity or decrease in activity over those periods of time. So that's it for budgeting. Let's move on quickly to capability statements. Capability statements establish your organizational credibility. They identify the qualifications and resources available in the project and organization, and they build confidence that your organization is competent to carry out a proposed project. Now, for the purposes of the IH-887 Grants Foundation, you have license to build on your own experience, and you are able to create capability statement building on that experience for your organization. You can have a little bit of creative license here. Capability statements usually contain a mission statement, a brief history of the organization, some organizational resources, prior recognition and support, organizational partnerships and linkages, previous and current programs, and a statement of organizational strengths. And they need to be tailored to the particular program that you are developing in your proposal. Briefly, we'll talk about the sustainability question. And that question is, will the project continue in the future, and how will it be supported when the project is over? And I usually think of sustainability as having three pieces. There's organizational sustainability, there's a demand for services, and there's financial sustainability. And I think you want to address all three of these. Organizational sustainability refers to what you leave in place to be able to continue the work of the program that you've developed. A demand for services means, will the program uh, be employed and active because there is an active demand for the services that the program is offering, both on the client side and on the organizational side. And finally, a financial sustainability. How will the program continue to get the resources that it needs to continue to operate? So the things to think about when you're creating a sustainability plan is, how will your program be institutionalized? What is the phased or incremental ownership and funding that will take place over the life of the project and then beyond? And where will alternative sources of funding come from? And what, if there is any income generating potential, what would that be, and how much would it provide? So we're at the end, and that's fitting because the executive summary is usually what you do at the end. Although the executive summary is probably the most important part of your proposal. And it's not a good idea to leave it at the end and rush through just dumping something down on paper. It's good to leave it to the end because you can use the proposal to develop the executive summary in a very clear way. But it's very important to spend time on it because it is the first thing that reviewers read, and you need to get their attention to explain concisely what your project is about, to excite them about it, and to prepare them for what is coming in the larger proposal that follows. So it usually contains, it should contain, organization, the name of your organization, and the key personnel in the program that you're developing, a description of your project, the dates of the project, and a summary of goals and objectives, the major activities, the cost of the project, and what you ultimately hope to achieve through these activities. So work hard on your executive summary. Try to get it into a page, and to get all these essential elements, and at the same time get people excited about the importance of your program. So that's really all I have to say. I hope that you're well on your way to completing all of the pieces of your proposal, and we will have an opportunity on our last class to do a cluster critique and put everything that we have together, and get some feedback from our colleagues. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.